The Omnavarian Codex, Antichrist revealed. Prologue, a letter from David. Dear humanity, for centuries I have offered this message to droves of your world leaders, only to discover that while all of them were more than willing to use the knowledge contained herein to obtain wealth, power, stature, and acclaim, not one among them would dare spread this message to all of you, as has been my intention for some time now. As the clock keeps moving ever closer to the date of that final battle, it becomes more important than ever for you to know the incredible power, purpose, and potential of humanity. So on that last day, you have a true fighting chance. My commitment here is in spreading the absolute truth to you all, and to that end, I must start by telling you that I am the one to whom you will call the Antichrist. But for familiarity's sake, you can call me David. Various cultures have given me many names over the time. Horus, Kalki, Artemis, to name a few. The moniker Antichrist is just the latest in a long line, and one of which I'm not particularly fond. The mere utterance of that name seems to fill so many of you with fear and hatred, which is only to be expected considering all the lies you've been told about me over the centuries. The truth about me and my purpose in this world has been largely skewed to serve the purpose of those in power, and more importantly, those seeking power. Until now, I've sat by and simply allowed them to be spread, assuming that the truth about me would eventually come out. However, as we currently exist in shall we say, tenuous time for truth, I feel compelled to tell my own story. Despite what you may have been told, I am not your enemy, but I do bear a message that is of grave importance. Perhaps the first thing I should state is that my mere presence here is not a sign of the imminent apocalypse. I have been here since the beginning. Your Bible gets more wrong than right. Then again, as I recall, James I was not all that interested in accuracy, so much as controlling the populace. Well, that and the games he would play with Thomas. Of course, by the time he got around to composing that thing, the stories have been passed along so many times by so many people that little truth was left. I am not an agent of Satan, and I have no desire to harm any of you. The only real difference between us is that I know my purpose, my power, and my goal, while you have been denied the realization of yours. While I will admit to being what you might call evil, before you go condemning me for this, stop and ask yourself, what is evil? Honestly, have you ever really asked yourself that question? Is slavery evil? As I recall, the prophet Abraham had several slaves, and he was greatly favored by your God. Is polygamy evil? Again, many of your God's prophets had several wives, and even today, several of the wealthiest and most blessed people engage in polygamous relationships. How about killing? Surely that must be evil. Yet, if you go to any capital city of any country in all the world, you will see great monuments erected to honor soldiers who killed to protect their country. When you really start to question it, the nature of good and evil isn't quite what most of you suspect. The truth is, good and evil are subjective to the whim of those with the most power. That which aids those with the most power in accomplishing their ends is deemed good, while that which is contrary to their interests is deemed to be evil. Since my goals are not that of your gods, I'm considered to be evil. A simple explanation to be certain, but you may ask just what the goal of your God is, and why would an immortal being such as myself, with all that I have seen and all that I know, oppose it? Well, that is precisely why I have taken the time to write this message to all of you, so you may now know the truth about the God so many of you unwittingly serve, and just why His are not your best interest. You see, God is not your God. Perhaps that was a bit too blunt for most of you. Perhaps I think it might be best for everyone if I started from the very beginning.